For extremely disturbing true basement stories, listen with lights on. Hey everyone, welcome back. Basements. They're the forgotten underbelly of any home. The air down there always feels heavier, cooler, carrying that faint, earthy dampness that clings to your skin. The light barely reaches the corners, and every step on those creaky wooden stairs echoes like a warning. At night, when the house above is silent, descending feels like crossing into a place where normal rules don't apply, where the darkness has weight, and the silence is never truly empty. Tonight, for extremely disturbing true basement stories from viewers who lived through them. These accounts involve hidden presences, buried secrets, and sensations that still make their skin crawl. If your basement door is just out of sight right now, maybe keep those lights on. The chill might not just be in the air. Let's begin. The squatter who knew my routine. This is from Jordan. The house we rented in college was old, built in the 1920s with warped floorboards that groaned underfoot even when no one moved. The basement stairs were narrow and steep, each step releasing a puff of cold, musty air that smelled like wet concrete and forgotten laundry detergent. The single bare bulb at the bottom cast long, jagged shadows across the unfinished space. Rough concrete floors gritty under bare feet, exposed wooden beams overhead dripping with condensation, and that constant low hum from the ancient furnace that vibrated through your bones. A few months in, things started disappearing. Not big items, just enough to notice. A half-eaten sandwich left on the counter would vanish overnight, leaving only the faint, greasy scent of deli meat lingering in the fridge. My roommate's hoodie went missing. When we found it weeks later, it reeked of stale sweat and something metallic, like old coins. One sleepless night around 2 a.m., the kitchen felt unnaturally cold. I padded downstairs in socks, the tile icy against my soles. As I reached for a glass, a soft rustle came from the basement stairs, like thick fabric dragging slowly across concrete, followed by the tiniest scrape of something metallic. My heart thudded so hard I felt it in my throat. I flicked on the basement light from the top step. The bulb buzzed to life, flickering weakly. The padlock on the exterior door rusted chain, thick as my thumb was gone, hinges bent outward, with fresh gouges in the wood, splinters still pale and sharp. We grabbed flashlights, beams cutting through the thick, dusty air and descended. The damp chill hit immediately, raising goosebumps on my arms. In the far corner, behind stacks of mildewed Christmas boxes that smelled like pine needles gone rotten, we found it, a threadbare sleeping bag on flattened cardboard, crinkled fast food wrappers greasy and sour-smelling, an empty water bottle, and a small notebook with curled edges. The pages were filled with neat handwriting. Jordan arrives home 5:45 p.m. Keys jingle in left pocket. Roommate leaves 8:02 a.m. Car engine coughs twice. Times, habits, even the creak of specific floorboards upstairs. Drawings of the house layout, arrows to weak window latches. The paper felt oily, like it had been handled too many times. Police came. They found a hidden crawl space behind a loose panel, dark, spiderwebbed, smelling of earth and urine. The intruder had been slipping up at night, breathing our air, listening to our conversations through the thin floorboards. They found one photo tucked in the sleeping bag, me, asleep on the couch upstairs, flashlit in the dark, taken from the bottom of the basement stairs. The image was slightly blurry, edges soft from humidity. I could still smell that basement on my clothes, weeks after moving out. To this day, the faint scent of damp concrete makes my stomach turn. The hidden room behind the wall. From Sarah, our Victorian house had thick stone basement walls that stayed perpetually cold, even in summer. The air down there was always thick and stagnant, heavy with the smell of old masonry and faint mildew-like breathing through wet wool. The patched drywall section looked out of place, newer, smoother, but already starting to bubble from trapped moisture. Dad hired contractors to open it up for a rec room. When the first hammer struck, the drywall cracked like thin ice, releasing a rush of trapped air, stale, metallic fiff, with an undercurrent of something sour and organic, like spoiled meat left too long. Dust billowed out, gritty in our lungs. Behind it, a small windowless room, maybe 8 by 10 feet. The floor was bare concrete, stained dark in patches. A filthy mattress sagged in one corner, springs rusted and protruding like broken teeth. Chains bolted into the stone wall, links cold and heavy, rattling faintly when touched. Empty tin cans scattered, their insides crusted with dried residue. And on the wall, scratched deep into the concrete with something sharp, names and dates. Help me, 1987. They come at night. Don't trust the stairs. The scratches felt rough under fingertips, like desperate fingernails had dug in over hours. Police investigation revealed the previous owner's son vanished in the 80s. No body. Neighbors recalled muffled cries sometimes heard through vents on quiet nights. The dates matched other local disappearances. Young people gone without trace. We sealed it hastily, but that smell lingered. Damp stone mixed with decay. One final night before we sold, I went down alone for a box. The new drywall was smooth, freshly painted, but from behind it came slow, deliberate scratching nails on concrete, rhythmic, testing. The sound echoed softly, vibrating up through the soles of my shoes. I backed away, the cold air clinging to my skin like wet hands. I avoid any house with a basement now. The memory of that trapped sour air still makes me gag, the figure that watched from the shadows. From Mike, my walkout basement office had a concrete floor that stayed cool year-round, almost slick with condensation. Late nights, the only sounds were the low whir of my computer fan and the occasional drip from a pipe overhead. Plink, plink steady like a heartbeat. One midnight, the room felt wrong. The air grew colder, raising hairs on my neck. In the dark reflection of my monitor, a tall, thin silhouette stood in the corner, hooded, motionless. I spun, nothing but shadows. Then the tapping started, soft, insistent knocks from the unfinished side, tap 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 like knuckles on wood, rhythmic, patient, flashlight in hand, beam trembling. I approached. The knocks ceased. In the dust, large bare footprints, toes splayed unnaturally, leading behind boxes. The prints felt cold when I crouched close, as if recently made. I installed cameras. 3 a.m. clip, me asleep on the couch, breathing slow. A figure steps in, tall, hooded fabric, whispering softly. It stands over me, close enough that I imagine the faint, sour breath it might have exhaled. Minutes pass in silence, then it retreats into shadow, vanishing without sound. The police suggested a stalker via vents, but the openings were tiny, grimy with cobwebs. When I moved, the basement's chill clung to me like invisible fingers. The voices under the floor. From Emily, our rural house had only a dirt floor crawl space, beneath accessed through a small hatch in the hallway floor. The wood planks above were thin. You could feel the cool earth radiating up on winter nights, carrying the scent of soil and decay. At first, settling noises, creaks, pops, then whispers filtered through, faint, childlike voices murmuring just below hearing. I'd press my ear to the floorboards, would cool and splintery against my cheek. Laughter at first, high and playful, then shifting to soft sobs that vibrated up into my skull. One night, clear as if spoken in the room, "Mummy, let us out." My own kids slept soundly upstairs. The words carried a dusty, muffled quality, like spoken through packed earth. We pried up floorboards. The air that rushed out was thick with dirt smell and rot. Buried toys, doll heads with cracked porcelain faces, a rusted tricycle half sunk in soil. Small bones, fragile, yellowed. Police confirmed. 3 children, 1940 segundos, era trauma evident. The Pryor family claimed the kids ran away. After removal, the whispers stopped. But some nights, lying awake, I still feel the faint vibration under the floor, like distant crying, muffled by earth, waiting. Those are the 4 stories. Basements aren't just storage, they're places where the past lingers in the damp air. The cold touch of concrete, the faint scratches in the dark. If you've felt that unnatural chill from below, send your story in. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, hit the bell for more true horror. And tonight, if you hear anything from downstairs, maybe don't go check. Stay safe.